2015, Xbox paid a reported $100 million to have Rise of the Tomb Raider, a console exclusive, which turned out to be a time exclusive. At the announcement, gamers were upset, especially PlayStation gamers. Console exclusives have always been a standard practice since the days of the NES. This time, it was different because it was a second entry into a rebooted franchise, became a time exclusive. The game did come out a year later in its initial release on the PlayStation, but it really didn't matter at the time. So when it was time for the third installment, which was Shadows of the Tomb Raider, fans were happy to hear that it was coming to both consoles on its release date. The initial release date of Shadows of the Tomb Raider was in September 2018 and had mixed reviews from both fans and critics. The Metacritic score currently sits at a 75 and the user score sits at a 7.3. At the time, there were reports of the game being rushed and many fans and critics didn't like the direction in the story. In this third installment, you find a lot darker of a story, and even found myself not liking Lara's choices, especially at the beginning of the game. Lara makes a choice that directly leads to the death of what I can only estimate as thousands of people, including children. They even show a young child die at the beginning of the game. Off screen, mind you, but you still know what happens. Crystal Dynamics made this choice, and I wasn't too fond of it. As the game progresses, you go back to the core of what makes a Tomb Raider game so much fun. I was exploring the world, discovering tombs, and defeating Trinity. I was curious about the level design choices on the game. I remember not being a fan of the fast travel when playing the previous games because of the load times, but it was always available after finishing a tomb. This time around, they sometimes make you backtrack all the way to the beginning of the tomb to get to the campsite to fast travel, or don't even give you the option at all. It adds to a lot of playing time that doesn't need to happen, for no reason whatsoever. They always find a reason to have Lara forget every skill she's learned from the previous games, but this isn't a Tomb Raider trope, because every game acts like the skill tree from the last game didn't exist. It's like video game characters develop some kind of amnesia every time. I understand not having the same equipment or weapons, but I've never understand forgetting the skills that they've learned from previous games. The game runs at 60 frames per second at 4K resolution on my Xbox Series X and looks beautiful. I can honestly say I feel like I'm playing a different game from the previous version on my PS4. The 60 frames per second help immensely with the traversal and combat of the game. The little to no load times are always welcome to any game getting the next gen upgrade. In the end, I did like the story, but I had questions about the choices Crystal Dynamics made, but for some reason, didn't remember much from my first playthrough. The tombs are always fun to solve, and the combat was done well. I would highly recommend anyone to go back and play it again, especially if you can get the full version with the DLC. If you played the game before, maybe it's not a must play again, but if you haven't, I highly recommend you check out Shadows of the Tomb Raider on next gen consoles. It does make me want an actual next gen Lara Croft game. So if you have some time on your hands and already own this game, check it out on your Xbox Series X and give the DLC a try. And check out the upgrades and see what they've done.